All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back at it again, bringing you another analysis video. Let's kind of talk about the US dollar and the other currencies, how they have performing over the last month, and I'm feeling good to go. Bang out this video, just had a big bowl of noodles with some chicken in it, kind of like a little lockdown meal down in the basement. Just thought I'd produce this for you guys, right? So we just finished the Sunday meeting with the private group, and we were talking about kind of what currencies have been performing over the last month, and swing trading has really kind of been off the table for us lately because of the markets. They've been so crazy. Even if we look at like the US, let's just look at the Euro USD. Screw it. Let's put up the daily chart. So just over. This is an important video for you guys to listen to. So if you're subscribed or not subscribed, this is important to listen to. So I want to keep this relatively shorter, on the shorter side, maybe 8 minutes. But I always say that and I always go over. But before this coronavirus really started breaking out and people really started like freaking out about it, I would start saying, the start of February, people knew and the market started turning, and then we really got hectic in the last week of February. So if we look at the Euro USD over the last month and a half, 2 months, we can clearly see it got absolutely shit on. The US dollar got a lot stronger. Euro fell, and then all of a sudden it took a rebound effect, obliterated any type of supply zones that were up here and all the way up to the left, just completely removed them without really giving anybody an opportunity to get long, right? Or even short, right? It just hasn't. It's just been going. It hasn't really pulled back at all. And then over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, we've seen the US dollar get a lot stronger, right? And we were talking about how if you guys have been a long-term subscriber, you guys know during the summer months, not during the summer months, but usually during the summer months is typically when the lower volatility comes in, less liquidity. That's when a lot less trading happens, right? And then that carried on into September, October, and November, and it was really slow. And we are thinking like, shit, guys, watch out because this low liquidity, low volatility turns into high volatility really quickly. Sure enough, that's what we have gotten. This is the new market conditions now. This is the new market. People are sitting on the sidelines saying, hey, it's give it a week, it's going to be over. It's been like this for 3 weeks, right? I've been trying to explain it to the group as this is the new normal. Having 1,000 point drops in a day, 800 point rallies, 3,000 point drops, it's the new normal for right now, and we have to consider that. So we need to manage our risk. Before then, that was our normal, right? Making 250 pips, like maybe 50 pips, 30 pips, 150 pips, what is that? 75 pips in a day. Now we're used to having these 100 pips daily. Every day we're dropping 100 points, 200 points, 90 points, 200 points. What are these rallies? 100 points. So we need to start considering about what market conditions we are in, and even the swing trading. It's been off the table. We've been looking for scalps really on the smaller time frames, using the 4 hour and the 1 hour as our biggest time frame. Because swing trading really hasn't given us an ability to get long or short because there has been no evidence, because prices just shoot up one way for the 1 week and then shoot back down the following week, right? So that's all I want to really talk about on that. So for right now, we're all just kind of looking for scalps on the smaller time frames, just trying to pick these zones of where the price is going to be over the next hour to 4 hours, right? We're not interested in trying to find what's going to happen long term. If you want to play the long term game, you play the real long-term game, right? Do you think the US dollar is going to absolutely crash, or do you think it's going to completely rally? That's the game you should be playing. I don't think you should be playing, you know, I don't know, the next 500, 600 pips. I think just maybe the long-term game is better, possibly, instead of playing the swing position. So something I wanted to show you guys was over the last month, how have they been performing? Which currencies have been doing the best? And this is something we were. Ooh, sounds like I'm getting a coronavirus. Sounds like I'm getting a rotavirus, eh? Oh, that's another thing. My last YouTube video, man, pissed me off. I think it's because I named it the coronavirus, and I swear to God, if they cut my video down again because I mention it, just because you mention coronavirus, they might like cancel your video. They pull it down. They limit advertising because they think you're like making money off of this. It's bullshit, right? It's completely bullshit. Every YouTube video you watch, you see down below COVID-19, here's what you need to do. It's bullshit, but you can't talk about it without them monitoring your video. Anyways, these guys piss me off. If we look at the currency index, this is an index that we have just talking about what currencies have been performing and what haven't over the last month. And this is something that we need to consider because if you're looking to sell against the Japanese or the US dollar, it's probably not the best idea because these have been the best performing currencies over the last month. So if we kind of click down here, the last month, it will say that the best ones are the Japanese, the US dollar, the Swiss, and the euro, right? The safe haven currencies. Those have all been rallying, gaining a lot of strength. And the currencies that have not been performing have been the Australian, the New Zealand, the pound, the Canadian, right? And you see that on every single chart. If you go, let's take the yen, the US dollar, for example, and let's take the New Zealand and Canadian. So let's type in the USD CAD, that was one of them. The Canadian is one of the weakest, and the USD is one of the strongest. You can see on the daily chart, the US dollar has been gaining a lot of strength, and then therefore the Canadian has been falling a lot. You can even see that on the currency index. The Canadian has been dropping. So these are things that you need to be aware of if when you're scalping or even swing trading. As in, do you really want to be buying the Canadian currency when it's been literally the worst performing currency out there? And it's probably not the smartest idea to be selling one of the strongest currencies versus one of the weakest currencies, right? You probably don't want to be doing this. So this is all stuff to consider. Like if we take the Swiss, let's type in Swiss versus, I don't know, Aussie. I don't know. Let's see what this looks like. Swiss AUD. But before I push enter, I have no idea. It's probably going to be completely straight up. Boom, right? It's like it's not a surprise. It's a safe haven currency. The Swiss has been going up. It's been gaining a lot of strength, and the Australian hasn't. Let's type in another one. What's another one? What's the purple? New Zealand? What was the other one? Aussie we did? Aussie. So let's do New Zealand versus yen. So what would that be? New Zealand yen? I think I have that. So this should be going completely down. There you go, right? New Zealand being extremely weak, the yen being very strong. So if we go back into this, so this is something that we have to start considering even for like day trades and stuff like that. So this is what's been happening over the last month. And I'm just using the last month just because that's really when the coronavirus started acting out in the markets. If we look at the year to date, what's been the best performing currency over the year to date? Clearly, the USD, clearly the Swiss, clearly the yen, the safe haven currencies, right? The black line is just kind of the average. It takes the average and it's kind of say like, hey, if you're below, then it's weak, right? And if it's above, you're doing better than the average currency, right? So the worst one's been the Aussie, the best one's been the USD. And even if we look at the 5-day chart, this is something like if we're scalping, does that mean that you can't be like scalping the 5-minute Australian chart, buying the Australian? No, that doesn't mean you can't be, but it's probably not the best idea, and it's probably not a smart idea to be buying the Australian and selling the USD, right? You're trying to buy the weakest currency versus the strongest currency in a scalp. It's probably not the best idea, right? So it's probably better to be, buying the yen and trying to sell the pound, right? It's probably just a better mix, right? You have the odds on your side. You're buying a strong currency and you're selling a weak currency. So if we look at the last 5 days, this will tell us, hey, what's been happening over the last 5 days? What has been the best performing currency? And it still hasn't changed, right? It's the exact same charts basically. So that's basically that. I think we need to start understanding price action a bit more, what's happening on different time frames and how price starts to turn from inside out, but also start to consider like, hey, what currencies are performing and what aren't they. We're trying to look for day trade scalps right now. So this is something that we need to start integrating with our own trading in the private group. It's like, hey, what's strong and what's weak, right? All right, besides that, that should be everything. Just want to bring you guys this quick, maybe 5-10 minute video for you guys. And if you guys have any questions about joining the private group or about supply and demand, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm there to help if you have any questions. And I'll bring another video for you guys on Friday, doing a weekly review of any trades we take. And yeah, should be a good week, right? So just be aware of what's going on in the markets, currencies, what is strong and what's not. Besides that, cheers. Thank you. Bye bye.